Nupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Narayanitti Namine Shri Krishna Lirakatane Sudaksham Uddharya Madhurya Guneshcha Yuktam Viranvaranyam Purushan Mahantam Nirayanam Tvam Shirasanamami Namahom Vishnupadaya Kesha Prishtaya Bhutane Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Vamaniti Namine Gaura Bhavamayo Deha Ujvala Rasa Bhavaka Bhaktivedanta Vamano Rag Bhakti Pravartaka Guru Damnicha Sevasu Vaishnave Sarvadamati Grante Bhagavate Sakshatko Samivedante Rati Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutare Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pushtacha Deshatarine Namahom Vishnupadaya Acharya Simharupine Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshaveti Namine Attimacha Charitraya Swashitanam Chapadine Jivaduke Siddharthaya Shandama Premadayane Namahom Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutare Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshavanavi Devi Dayataya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vigyana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhurjvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Vrudapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambode Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhaktivinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gauna Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Guravya Bhava Bhumestvam Nirjesta Sajdana Priya Vaishnava Savabhoma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha Vanchakalpa Tirubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavidanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Godangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Suratu Pangor Mama Manda Matergati Matsarvaswa Padambujo Shri Radha Madanamo Hano Divya Brindaranya Kapadrumadha Srimad Ratnagara Simhastanashto Srimad Radha Shira Govinda Devo Preshtalibi Sevyamano Smarami Srimad Rasana Sarambi Vamshi Vatata Tashtitaha Karshan Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinata Shri Estuna Vrindaye Tulasi Devyaye Priyaye Keshavasya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavate Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Page 23. Krishna huete chaturmukha. Krishna huete chaturmukha. Hoya Krishna sevan mukha. Brahma huite nara dera mohati. Narada hoite vyasa. Madhvaka he vyasa dasa. Purna pragna padmana bhagavati. Nrihari madhava vamshe. Akshobhya paramahamse. Shishaboni hangi karakohore. Akshobhyera shesha jaya. Tirtaname parichaya. Taradase jnana sindutore. Taha hoite doya nidhi. Taradasya vidya nidhi. Rajendra hoiro taha hoite. Kahara kinkara jaya. Damaname parichaya. Parampara jana baramate. Jayandamada kyati. Shri Purushatoma jati. Tahoite brahmanya tirta sohori. Vyasa tirta tara dasa. Lakshmi pati vyasa dasa. Taha hoite Madhavinda puri. Madhavendra puri vada shisha vada shish vada. Nityananda shri advaita vibhu. Ishvara puri ke danya karilanya shri chaitanya. Jagaguru Gaura Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu Shri Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahiyanya Rupanuga Janira Jivana Vishwambara Priyankara Shri Swarupa Damodara Shri Goswami Rupa Sanatana Rupa Priya Mahajana Jiva Raghunatahana Tanapriya Kavi Krishna Dasa Krishna Dasa Priya Vara Narottama Seva Para Jalapada Vishwanatha Asha Vishwanatha Bhakta Sata Baladeva Jagannatha Tanapriya Shri Bhakti Vinoda Mahabhagavata Vara Shri Goda Kishora Vara Hari Bhajan Nette Jara Mohora Shri Vaishabha Navivada Sada Sevya Seva Pada Tada Daita Dasanama Prabhupada Antaranga Shri Swarupa Rupanuga Shri Keshava Bhakti Pragyana Gaudiya Vedanta Veta Maya Varo Tamohanta Gauravani Prachara Chadama Pracharito Gauravani Bhakti Vedanta Swami Purnito Prabhupada Kama Kesha Priya Mahajana Vamanana Dayanhana Gauravani Tade Pranadhana Esaba Harijana Gaurangera Nija Jana Tadera Uchiste Morakama Guru Parampara Guru Parampara Guru Parampara Guru Parampara Guru Parampara Guru Parampara Parampara Guru Parampara. Oh, I just realized we didn't do Shri Guru. Want to do Gurudev Kripa Bindu together? I don't know a morning melody though. Page 32. do, you usually do. Okay. Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Gurave Dase Jinapekshati Hina Sakale Sahane Bome Diya Koro Nijamane Spreha
Sakale Samana Kurite Shakati Dehonata Jata Jata Taeto Gaibo Harinama Suke Aparada Gabeata Kabekne no Kripa Lobia e Jana Kritarta Hoi Benata Shakti Bubihino Amiati Dino Korore Atmasaka Jogyata Vichare Kichunai Pai Tomara Koruna Sara Karunano Koile Kadia Kadia Prananana Kiboara Prananana Kiboara Gurudev Krishna Kripa Bilundia Korove Dase Trina Peksha Adikina Jayo Gurudeva Jayo Gurudeva Jayo Gurudeva Jayo Gurudeva 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 Jayo Jayo Gurudev 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 Jayo Jayo Gurudev Jayo Jayo Gurudev 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 Jayo Jayo Gurudev.
Page 36. Vrindavana Vasi Jato Vaishnavera Gahana Pratame Vandana Kori Sabara Charana Nilachala Vasi Jato Mahaprabhurgana Bhumite Podiya Vando Sabara Charana Navadvipa Vasi Jato Mahaprabhu Bhakta Sabara Charana Vando Hoyanurata Mahaprabhu Bhakta Jato Goda Deshe Stiti Sabara Charana Vando Sabara Pranati Jai Deshe Baise Gaurangera Gana Urdvabahu Kori Vando Sabara Charana Hoyachena Hoyi Bena Prabhu Jato Dasa Sabara Charana Vando Dante Kori Gasha Brahmandatarite Shakti Dare Jane Jane Evera Purane Gun Gaya Jebashune Mahaprabhu Gana Sabapati Dapavana Tairo Bimui Papi Lovi Nusharana Tanta Korite Mui Kato Shakti Dori Tamo Budi Doshe Mui Damba Matra Kori Tatapi Mukera Bhagya Manera Ulasa Dokshakshami Moandame Koro Nijadasa Sava Vancha Siddhi Hoy Yama Banda Chute Jagamte Durlabha Hoy Prem Dana Lute Manera Vasana Puna Hachirate Hoya Devaki Nandana Dasa Elo Bekoya Jayo Vaishnav Thakur 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 Jayo Vaishnav Thakur. Page 200. Prabhu. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Vande Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jivedoya Kori Swaparshada Swiyandama Sahavatari Atyanta Dulabha Prema Kori Baridana Shikaya Sharanagati Bhakatera Prana Danya Atmani Vedana Gomtre Flevarana Avashadakshipe Krishna Vishvasapalana Bhakti Anukura Matra Gayera Svikara Bhakti Pratikula Bhava Vajanangikara Sharanga Sharanagati Hoi Bejahara Tahara Pratana Shune Shinanda Kumara Rupa Sanatana Pade Dante Trinakori Vakati Vinoda Pade Dupada Dori Kandiya Kandiya Bole Hamita Dhamma Shikaye Sharanagati Karahe Uttama Jaya Swarparshada Jaya Godahari Swarparshada Jaya Godahari Jaya Swarparshada Jaya Godahari Swarparshada Jaya Godahari. Okay, who'd like the lead for Gornitai?
You lead, we follow.
Sure. Let's do 78. D 10 4. Gauranga tumi more doyana chadi o Gauranga tumi more doyana chari 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 o Apana kariya ranga charane rakiyo Apana kariya ranga charane chariyo Gauranga tumi more doyana chari o Gauranga tumi more Tomara charane lagi sabatayegi no Tomara charana lagi sabatayegi no Sitala charana paya Sitala charana paya Sitala charana paya Sarana laino Sitala charana paya Sarana laino Gauranga tumi more doyana chari o Gauranga tumi more Ekule okule moi dilo tilanjali Ekule moi dilo tilanjali Raki ho charane more Raki ho charane more Apana boli Apana boli Gauranga tumi more doyana chari o Gauranga tumi more doyana chari o Vasudeva Gosha bole charane dhariya Vasudeva Goshe bole charane dhariya Vasudeva Ghosh bole charan dhariya Vasudeva Gosha bole charane dhariya Kripa kari rako more Kripa kari raka more Parachoriya Parachaya doya Gauranga tumi more Doyana chariya Doyana chariya Apana kariya ranga 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 Charana rahiyo Apana kariya ranga Charana rahiyo Jaya Go Jaya Nitai Jaya Go Jaya Nitai Jaya Nitai Jaya Go Jaya Nitai Jaya Go Jai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo O Gauranga, do not fail to bestow your mercy upon me, making me your own. Keep me close to the reddish soles of your lotus feet. For your lotus feet I have renounced everything. Upon attaining those cooling lotus feet I have taken shelter of them. I have abandoned worldly family life, now and hereafter. Please keep me at your lotus feet and call me your own. Grasping your lotus feet, Vasudev Ghosh prays, kindly keep me here, forever giving me the shade of your lotus feet. Shri Vasudev Ghosh ki jai.
Together, one person.
One person. I think that's you.
You play Mridang. Bhajagore man Shinandanandana Abhaya charanaro vindore Bhajagore
Starts with double speed. You know.
Sounds good. Oh, I didn't know.
Bhaja Hore Mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charana Ravindore Bhaja Hore Durlabha Manava Janava Satsange Durlabha Manava Janava Satsange Tarahae Bhava Sindore Durlabha
Double speed.
Re Bhaja Hore Mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charana Ravindore Sita Tapa Bata Barishana Edina Jamini Jagire Bipale Sevino Kripana Durajana Vipale Sevino Kripano Durajano Chapala Sukalava Lagire Vipale Sevino Kripan Bhaja Hore Mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charana Ravindore Edana Yovana Putra Parijana Iteke Ache Paroti Tire Edana Yovana Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala Bhaja Hari Pada Nitire Kamala Dala Jala Tire Bhaja Hore Mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charana Ravindore Shavana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Pada Sevana Dasyare Pujana Saki Jana Atma Nivedana Pujana Saki Jana Atma Nivedana Har Pujana Saki Jana Atma Nivedana Har Pujana Saki Jana Atma Nivedana Govinda dasa vilasare Pujala Saki Jala Nivedanam Vaja Kure Manachi Nandanandana Abhaya Charanar Vindore Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama
Sing but faster.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Nandan Jaya Nandan Jaya Nandan Jaya Radha Raman Bihari Radha Raman Bihari Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. O mind, worship the lotus feet of Sri Nandanandan, which bring fearlessness. This human birth is very rare, so take the association of certain persons and cross over this ocean of material existence. Suffering the pains of the cold, heat, wind, and rain, I remain sleepless day and night. I have uselessly served miserly and wicked men for a fraction of momentary happiness. Wealth, youth, sons, and relatives, what assurance do they hold? This life is tottering like a drop of water on a lotus petal. So always serve and worship the feet of Sri Hari. Hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, serving his lotus feet, engaging as a servant, worshipping, serving him as a friend, and completely offering him one's very self. These 9 limbs of bhakti are Govinda Das' cherished aspiration. Shri Govinda Das Kaviraj Ki Jai.
Srimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, and the same unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Shiksha Gurudevs, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Astu Sat Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Astu Sat Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Began Bharati Goswami Maharaj, to our grandfather Guru Sri Srimad Bhakti Pragan Keshava Goswami Maharaj, and Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, to his divine associates and all the assembled devotees, and the assembled devotees, Diksha Gurus who are my Shikshurus, Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Madhav Maharaj, Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Ban Maharaj, and Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Siddhanti Maharaj, and to all of you, and here we go. So I was thinking that yesterday we had that interview, or we were interviewed at the Harvard Divinity College on the subject of spiritual harmony. But he was asking also so many different kinds of questions. So I thought today we would discuss further on the subject of harmony, which we haven't done thoroughly in a long time. So is that all right with everybody? Okay. So we read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that there are 5 limbs of bhakti that are the most important, like hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and the association of pure devotees, and serving the deity with faith, and living in a holy place like Mathura or Vrindavan, and chanting. And what's the 5th one? Deities I mentioned. Huh? Did I? Oh, serving the deity, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from the pure devotee. Oh, associating. Sadhu Sangha is one of them. So the verse says that these 5 limbs of bhakti produce very quickly the fruit of Krishna Prem, unless one is criticizing Vaishnavas. It doesn't only mean pure Vaishnavas, but any kind of course, the result of criticizing pure devotees is the most destructive, but any kind of devotee is also destructive. Now, Ajamil, he committed all kinds of sins: murder, thief, leaving his wife, beautiful chaste wife, and living with a prostitute. But one thing he didn't do was he didn't disrespect Vaishnavas. And therefore, when the 4 Narayan Dutas, 4 messengers of Narayan came, because he was very respectful to them, and he followed their instructions, he was able to drop everything and go to the holy place of Hardwar, perform austerities and chant, and quickly attain Vaikuntha Loka. So there's a saying in regard to that, a Hindi saying, that if we put a thorn on the path of someone, then the thorn grows 2 more thorns and becomes like a trident to pierce you. But if you do good for someone, then you'll be showered with flowers. So everything has its reaction. So in that sense, we're not allowed, we're not authorized to harbor any ill intent towards anyone. And yesterday I gave the example of the 2 brothers who moved into a town. Do you all know that? You know it, of course. All right. So there's actually 2. No. I mean, he got his hands cut off. Oh. Yeah, this is different. Likud and Sanket and Likud. But that's a different history. We can do that one too. Because the one that I'm going to tell has a bad result. The one that you remember has a good result. So, okay, so two devotees moved to a town, and one moved into a temple, and one lived under a banyan tree. And as fate would have it, the banyan tree was near a brothel. So the one who lived in the temple, he was very critical of this other Vaishnava. He's probably going to see that prostitute. He's so low, and I'm so saintly. I got to live in a temple. And the other one, the one under the banyan tree, was thinking, I'm so fallen and wretched, and my brother got to live in a temple. He's so saintly. So that's how they were thinking about each other. And gradually they got older and older, and then death came. So the one who lived in the temple, the Yama Judas came to him, and they said, we've come to take you. No, you've got it wrong. It's the other one who lives under a banyan tree, who's probably being with that prostitute, that you should go after. You got the wrong address. And so they said, no, we have the right address, because you created a bridge of consciousness with him, and your consciousness went over and accused him of bad qualities. And those qualities that you were thinking about came back to you by the bridge of consciousness. All right, well, where are you going to take me? To Swarga? No, we're taking you to Narak, taking you to hell. So see the bad implications. And the other one, he got liberated. So then the other one with the prostitute is that there was a Vaishnava who decided to leave home and do bhajan in the forest, in a sacred place. The forest is in the mode of goodness. And so he was there chanting. And actually, this became a drama. At Gurudev's festival, he always wanted dramas. So this history became a drama. And if you know Charo Chandrika, she was the Brahmin. And so she's chanting. And the prostitute and her clients go back and forth to the place of the brothel and from it. And so he was chanting like this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. And so then the same thing happened to him, because the prostitute was thinking how lowly I am and how saintly he is. So the Yamadutas came to him and the Vishnu Dutas came to her. And then when, Prabhupada always comments on the dramas. So Prabhupada said, this is a real story, it really happened. Huh? What did I say, Prabhupada? Gurudev. So then the one that Haridas Prabhu is thinking about is the two brothers, Shank and Likit. And they came to a village and they both constructed bhajan kutirs. And then Likit came to visit his brother, and he saw the flowers there, and he picked a flower and smelled it, and then he felt so guilty that it was his brother's property, and he enjoyed it for his own self. So when his brother came out to greet him, he said, I'm so sinful. Really, what did you do? I did such and such. That was nothing. He said, no, I should be punished. You should punish me. What for? It was nothing. No, I should really be punished. And that way I'll learn the lesson. My hands that committed this sin should be cut off. He said, okay. So he cut off his hands. And then that Vaishnava, who no longer had hands, was very happy and he went home. Of course, his brother patched it up. Still there was no hands. So he went home. Then he came back at a later date to visit again. And now he was just so sad. Why was he sad? Because without hands, he couldn't offer full satsang pranam, because there are 8 parts of the body that you have to offer obeisances with. And he couldn't fully do that, so he was sad. So then his brother said, okay. And he did something, and his hands came back. So the moral of the story is, you get very powerful when you act in purity. The brother had the power to bring the hands back. And the other brother was so pure that he lamented from using his brother's property for himself. So later on they wrote a Samhita, a scripture called Sank and Likit Samhita. And even Lord Ramchandra, in his administration, he used this book. Such an important book. So that was that. So Gurudev is explaining in this harmony book that if somebody is doing something wrong against his bhakti or disrespectful, don't look. Don't look at it. Just look at your own faults and see how to correct them. Even if someone is very wretched, then don't associate, but also don't criticize. Because when we criticize, even in the mind, when we criticize, those qualities, whether or not the person has those qualities or not, the qualities come back to us by the bridge of consciousness. Does anybody here go one day without criticizing? Let's see a show of enthusiastic hands. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So what happens is our bhakti goes in the garbage can. Those are Prabhupada's words. Additionally, he said that when can you criticize? When can you curse? There is a junction where you can, and that is if you can change him. Like Narada Muni saw Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, the debauchee sons, because when one has money, a lot of times he becomes a debauchee in some way or another. So they were debauchees, and they were being naked in a lake with naked girls. And they were also drunk. And so Narada, he didn't really particularly meditate on the debauchery things they were doing. But he was just thinking they're killing themselves. And so he cursed them to become trees. And even when they begged him that please don't curse us, because they were feeling their hands becoming stiffened and becoming trees. We promise we'll never do this again, and so on. But no, the curse was already in action. So they became trees. But because the curse was given by Narada Muni, if you can come at the beginning, that'll be super. Because you don't even know the context that I'm going to say next. So because the curse was given by Narada Muni, what curse? What are you talking about? That's why it's important to come at the beginning. They became trees, but trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, in the courtyard of Krishna, when Krishna was a baby. And then that was the exact time that his mother tied him up. And because he was creating mischief, what was the mischief? He was stealing butter and yogurt. So she tied him up to a grinding mortar, thinking that these two are accomplices in the crime of stealing. So Krishna was crawling, and he crawled out of his house and into the courtyard. But then he went in between the two trees, and he couldn't get very far because the grinding mortar was there. So the boys helped him, but it jammed into the trees, and the trees fell over with a very uproarious thud. And Mother Yasoda became petrified, like a stone, thinking that maybe I killed my son. But then within the trees, the two demigods came out and glorified Krishna, and Krishna blessed them to become two associates of his in Goloka Vrindavan. That's pretty amazing. That's a Vaishnava, from a Vaishnava who knows what to do with someone who's immoral. So do you know who they became?
Manigriva?
No, they already were Manigriva. Snigdhakanta and Madhukanta. One became the singer in the assembly of the cowherd boys, and one became a singer in the assembly of the gopis. He said, don't even think, oh, this Vyasasana of Prabhupada or this Sringasana of the deities is made of cloth. It should be made of gold. I should do something to make it be made of gold. Don't waste your time with that. Just spend your time making your consciousness like gold. And that's the real worship of them. So there's an injunction that don't don't criticize or glorify anyone. So the devotee asked Gurudev, but if we don't glorify the devotees, if it's an injunction not to, then how are we going to make advancement? So he said this injunction applies to ordinary materialistic people, because if you glorify them, you're glorifying how they engage in sense gratification, how well they do. And so you develop those material qualities. But it does not apply to Vaishnavas. We always want to glorify pure Vaishnavas, and then their qualities come in us. In the assembly of Srila Bhakti Pragan Keshava Goswami Maharaj, he had 2 disciples, and they were very quarrelsome. So one day, the both of them came out of the kitchen, Krishna's kitchen, carrying wooden sticks at the end of which were fire, in other words, torches. And they were both threatening each other. So then the other devotees came to Param Gurudev and said, they just won't stop quarreling. None of us can change them. Can you do something? He said, no, I will not do anything. I have not come to this world to be a court, to solve things. There are so many thousands of courts in Bengal. They can just take their claims to the courts and solve them there. And then Gurudev, who was telling this history, he said, I also have not come to make a court. Don't bring me this person did this and this person did that. You can come to me how to get love and affection for Radha and Krishna and the Vaishnavas. That's what I came to give you. And then he quoted his Guru Maharaj that I have not instructed you to quarrel. I instructed you in Trinadapi Sunichena. Yes, Atul?
You said don't criticize, it's on, but don't glorify mundane people. But what about criticizing mundane people? Is that
No,
also
don't
bad?
criticize and don't glorify. And for Vaishnavas, don't criticize, and if they're real Vaishnavas, do glorify. And I think many of you know the history of the beautiful elderly Vaishnavi who had a son who was about 9, and she used to earn her living by begging, and she used to also spend a lot of her time worshiping her deities. So one day, when she sent her son out to pick flowers for the deity worship, he got bitten by a black snake and immediately turned almost black and died. So a hunter saw this, and he happened to know the art of snake charming. So he said his mantra, and that very snake went into his basket. Then he closed the lid, and then he took the boy and put the boy over his shoulder and came to the mother, and the mother started weeping bitterly. And then he explained what happened, and he said, so please give me permission to kill this snake, to cut him to pieces. And she said, oh, very good. Will that bring my son back to life? He said, no. Then why do it? Well, if he stays alive, he could do that to somebody else. But she, being a saintly person, she said, no, don't do it. Because actually, animals don't get reactions for whatever they do. only humans, in the form of animals. So he decided not to listen to her, and he was just about to cut to pieces the snake when the snake started speaking. And he said, don't look at me. It wasn't my fault that the boy died. I've been in that bush for years and I never bit anybody. If you want to blame somebody, then you could blame time, Kal. So we know that everything is a person, so time is also a person. So then Kal started speaking and said, don't blame me. The cause of the boy's death and being bitten by a snake is that in their last lives, both of them, the snake and the boy, were boys. And the boy, who is a boy now, killed the other boy. And so now the other boy came back as a snake to kill that boy. So the cause of the boy's suffering and dying is his own furtive actions. In that regard, Gurudev always stresses, don't blame anyone else and don't blame any situation for your suffering, because you're, and he pointed to his own self and he said, you're the cause of all your suffering. Even Maharaj Yudhisthira never blamed Duryodhana, who was actually at so much fault, who kept trying to kill the Pandavas. Instead of Yudhisthira calling him what his name was, which is Duryodhana, which is an accusation, he called him Suryodhana, which is a good thing to say about somebody. And when Indra's men kidnapped Duryodhana to punish him and bring him to the heavenly planets, Yudhisthira and his brothers fought against Indra's servants. And then when they had to bring Duryodhana to Yudhisthira, Yudhisthira explained that yes, we may fight with each other, we're brothers, but when something comes against one of us, the other one always defends his brother. And how did Duryodhana feel about that? He became furious. How dare he act like that with me when I've been so torturous with him? Because, he became ashamed, and that shame didn't stay as shame. It turned into anger and resentment. So then he kept on with his nefarious activities. And another thing about cutting to pieces was, I think you all know the history of the king who was under the mango tree. That I've told 1,000,000 times. Does anybody not know it besides Janu? Oh yeah, you wouldn't know it. Atul, do you know the history? The history of the king who was resting under a banyan tree. A mango tree. And these boys were trying to get the mangoes. So they were throwing the rocks at the mangoes, and then the mangoes would drop. Because that's the nature of a tree. Tororapi sahishnuna. Even if you torture a tree, it'll always return the sentiments by giving sweet fruits. It's never revengeful. Everything about the tree is for others. Its bark, its shade, its fruits, its flowers. protection against the rain. So, accidentally, one of those rocks fell down onto the eye of the king. And so it went into his eye, and that eye became blind, and it started dripping thunderous blood. And so his ministers said to him, "O king, please give us permission to cut these boys to pieces." And the king said, "Why? I'm saying that this mango tree, which is being thrown rocks at, is returning with sweet mangoes. So am I less than a tree? No. So better to give these boys a portion of my kingdom that is more tolerant than a tree. Because a tree is by nature tolerant. Can't help it. And Gurudev was also explaining the cause of our suffering is the inability to practice. And if you know the verse, hopefully you do, you say it with me. Vacho vegam, manasakroda vegam, jivha vegam, udurapasta vegam, etana vegam, jovishaheta dira, sarvam apimam, prithivim shashishat. What does that mean? Somebody can take the microphone. What? What? Oh,
Who
A wise-
can
start from the
tolerate
start from the beginning.
a wise, self-composed person who can tolerate the agitation. What is it? The
Pushing.
impetus to speak, the agitation of the mind, the onset of anger, the urges of the belly, the vehemence of the tongue, and the agitation of the genitals can instruct the entire world in the science of bhakti.
Very good. But because we don't do that, then the mind tells us something, the tongue tells us something, the anger tells us something. It was them who is causing my suffering. But it's really the uncontrolled 6 pushings. Sometimes when people are very angry and are blaming everybody, it just turned out he needed to be married. And then he got more peaceful. Now, Prabhupada gave the example. If somebody calls you a red shirt, you red shirt, that's his foolishness, obviously, isn't it? But if I take offense, he called me a red shirt, then that's my foolishness, because I'm not this shirt. Huh? How? Yeah. What happened? You can take the mic and tell the history. So Gadagara is going to tell the history of Astavakra and King Janak.
Astavakra was a sage who was bent in how many places?
8.
8 places. Astavakra.
Asta.
Astavakra. And
Vakra means crooked.
and he entered into an assembly of King Janak, and they all started laughing at him when he entered in, and then he started laughing even more, and they were shocked. Why is he laughing?
More than us.
And he said, "Oh, y'all are like
I
leather."
thought I was invited to come to an assembly of intelligent, saintly people, but
He said, "You guys are like leather workers. You're only interested in leather and material."
what does the leather represent?
the material body, like the
Yeah,
red
the
shirt.
skin.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Okay, so what happened was the king, Janak, who's actually the father of Sita Devi, who's the consort of Lord Ram, he was very sharp. And so he took the Astavakra and put him on his own throne and started worshipping him. Good. So instead of concentrating on where we are because of them, because of that circumstance, we want to concentrate on what? The goal, where we want to go to get out of it. That is an all-encompassing injunction by our Guru Varga and Shastra. Just only concentrate on the goal. Concentrate on the GPS of how to get where you're going. Otherwise, you never get there. You just spin around like a boat without a rudder. It doesn't have any destination. Now, sometimes good things will happen to us, and sometimes bad things will happen to us. It's the nature of having a material body. So what do we want to think when good and bad things happen to us? Krishna is arranging all these so-called good and bad things. You want to consider, how do I know if this is good or bad for me? And that is the verse, Tatena kampam susamikshamano punjana evatma kripam vipakam ridva vibhur vididam namaste joveti jo muktipade sadayavak. Anyone who considers, the word su means to consider whether something is really good or bad. Is this really good for me or bad? It's really good, because whatever happens to me is all of Krishna's arrangement for my coming closer to him. It's all his mercy. Even Haridas Thakur, he was thinking, when he was getting beaten in 22 marketplaces, all of his skin came off, his bones were broken, all of his blood was coming out, his ligaments were ripped. But he was thinking, oh, Krishna is doing this to me to glorify me and to glorify bhakti, to show tolerance, how he wants everyone to be. And Draupadi, why did he give Draupadi so much suffering? Like the worst suffering for a chaste woman is to be seen naked. But why did he do that to her? To show her glory all over the world. How she was so dependent on Krishna that she didn't blame her husbands, even though they're the ones who bet her and lost. She was so dependent on Krishna and thinking of him that he immediately appeared in the room where she was from another city and became her unlimited cloth. That even though her torturer, that is, what's his name? Not Duryodhana, but his brother, Dushashan, bad things that he does. He had the strength of 10,000 elephants, but he could not, 10,000 chariots, but he could not take off her clothing. So there was many lessons to learn in that one act. Do you know the history of criticizing the brahmachari? When Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was going to come, because some brahmacharis had kind of opened a place, and they invited Srila Prabhupada to come and install deities and establish the temple by a ceremony. So he agreed to come. So the devotee who started the whole temple, and they got a new temple, and they got deities, they got everything. But the devotee who started the temple wasn't there when Prabhupada came. So he looked around, said, "Where's that original brahmachari?" So they all said to him, "Yeah, he used to be a good brahmachari, but then he got involved with a lady. So we chastised him so severely that he left." He left. Don't you realize that it takes thousands of gallons of blood to make any devotee, and you let him go so easily? He could have changed by more practice of bhakti. He said, "So all of you go out and look for him. And if you don't find him and bring him back, then I'm not going to install the deities, and I'm not going to establish this temple." So they all went looking, but it was Srila Bhakti began Bharati Goswami Maharaj's Gurudev, who was at that time Hayagriva Brahmachari, who found him. Where did he find him? In a watch shop. He was working in a watch shop. And he said, "Oh, please forgive us. Prabhupada was so unhappy with us. Please come back." And the brahmachari said, "Yes, I wanted to come back, but I was so embarrassed that I was thinking that I couldn't show my face, and that's why I didn't come back." So, but then he said, "Prabhupada is calling for me, then I'm running back." So then when he arrived at Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet, Prabhupada glanced at him, and in 1 second, just imagine, we're working so hard, so many years, so many lives to be free of our anarthas. And in 1 second, because of the repentance of that brahmachari and the mercy of his Gurudev, he became free from all of his anarthas. Just see how amazing that is. Then there's another history of two friends. They were both saints, sages, and they were crossing the river. And as they started to enter the water, one of the sages saw that there was a scorpion who was drowning. And so he picked the scorpion up, and the scorpion bit him, or whatever they do. What do they do? Bite, sting. And he immediately jerked, and the scorpion fell back into the water. And this happened a few times. So his friend said to him, "Why are you wasting your time? Just let him die. Can't you see what he's doing to you every time you try to help him?" So that other sage said, "Yes, well, he's my guru, because he's teaching me no matter what nice thing I'm doing, he refuses to change his nature. So he's teaching me how to be, that no matter what stinging things he's doing, why should I change my nature of being a sage and being compassionate?" So that's another strong history with lots of meaning. And then, let's see, Durvasa. Yes, Durvasa. As you know, Durvasa Muni, he's really a pure devotee, but he takes on all these roles of being the villain in order to glorify the devotee. So just because Ambarish Maharaj ate before him, because he had to observe the paran time, he tried to kill him with a dreadlock. Is that what you were doing, Atul? Yes, a dreadlock. He threw it on the floor, and it became, he angrily threw it on the floor, and it became this fiery demoness who immediately ran towards Maharaj Ambarish to burn him down. So Krishna had already made a promise that my Sudarshan chakra will always protect my devotee. And so he sent his Sudarshan chakra, which burned to ashes that fiery demon, and then chased him all over the universe, until finally Durvasa had to come back and apologize to Maharaj Ambarish. But all this time, like about a year, Maharaj Ambarish not only never blamed Durvasa, but he was praying for his benediction, and he was praying to the Sudarshan chakra to stop, to cool down. And he was even blaming himself. Because of me, this poor Brahmana has to suffer so much. And so finally he prayed, if I've done any pious activities, like we think becoming a gopi is high, all this stuff is so high, but we can't become a gopi unless we can get through this. It seems so easy to become a gopi. You just hear their pastimes and laugh and smile. Even when they're weeping in separation, we laugh and smile. So Maharaj Ambarish ended up apologizing to him, and Durvasa. And so Maharaj Ambarish felt so humble that he said, please save me, save me. And Maharaj Ambarish said, yes, immediately take all the results of all my pious activities and at once be delivered. And so that Durvasa had the opportunity to glorify Ekadasi and to glorify Maharaj Ambarish. And then there's that very famous, it's called Gurudev on Good Communication. Vasanti can tell about that.
Well, when Gurudev was giving a Bhakti Tattva Vivek course, before he started, he first said that real Sangha, real association, means to understand the mood of another. So if we don't understand the mood of the other person and just want to put our mood on, as Chamarniti always says, just waiting for the person to end so we could say what we want to say, then that's not real Sangha.
And then you begin with, what's your first word?
But.
Yes, but. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but. Okay, so anything else? Why did you mention that he was giving a Bhakti Tattva Vivek theme?
Because that's what he was about to do. He started because he told this before he got into what is Bhakti.
I know, but why? Why was it particularly Bhakti Tattva Vivek?
Well, my speculation is that Bhakti Tattva Vivek teaches what is not Bhakti.
The discrimination
Yeah.
of what is Bhakti
What is
and
Bhakti, what is not. Yeah. So
He said, so I'm going to give you this course, but unless you understand this point, you'll never understand the book Bhakti Tattva Vivek. And then he ended the speech on that by saying, if someone is thinking that I'm on the top of the mountain, then when the rain of mercy comes, it never stays on the mountain, the shower. It comes right down to the bottom. So only if you're at the bottom, thinking you're so low, then, and you want to hear the other person, then the rain will never come to you. It'll leave you and go to those who are humble. Yeah, and he began by saying that verse, Trinadapi Sunichena, thinking oneself more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. He said, but this verse should not remain in the book. It should be there practically. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees, they all followed this verse. So if I go into a conversation with someone that has to have is it going to be this way or that way? And he wants it to be a certain way, and I want it to be a certain different way. And if I'm thinking, I am right to the highest extent, and I'm not going to care what this person says. In other words, he's not going to consider whether the person is right or wrong. He's just considering it has to be my way. And so what Gurudev is urging him to do is put his mood aside and first hear about what is the happiness and distress of the other person. And then together they decide what to do. So now I'll ask for questions. Are there any questions? Yes, can you take the mic?
Could you just explain what it means to put a thorn in someone's path? You mentioned to think ill will. Does that mean to harm someone in any way?
Or to create obstacles. Like remember, I think it was you who told the pastime in the history of Srila Bhakti, Dwait Madhav Goswami Maharaj. Then one of his godbrothers lied to Srila Madhav Maharaj's disciples and said, don't stay here, go there. Your Guru Maharaj is waiting for you. But it was just to derail them and not have them be with this Guru Maharaj. I don't remember the more details, but the idea was to create the obstacle. So then that thorn gets 2 more thorns and becomes a trident to pierce you. Any other question? I mean, it's all pretty self-evident. All right, so I just wanted to quote a couple of Bhagavatam statements on this subject. So at the end of the Harmony book, it's so sweet, it's pink and purple, so pretty, and has these flowers in the corners. But really it's very heavy and stinging. So this is a cover-up in the cover and the corners. So the first one is, King Parikshit said, he's speaking to the bull, "O you who are in the form of a bull," because when he asked the bull, who broke your legs? Somebody came and they beat 3 of your legs and you're only standing on 1. And that one's not doing too well either. And the bull said, I don't know, I think it's Krishna's mercy. I don't actually know who did it. So he said, "Oh, you who are in the form of the bull, you know the truth of religion, and you are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious acts is also intended for the identifiers, one who identifies the perpetrator. So therefore, O bull, I can tell that you are none other than the personality of religion. Meaning, okay, who broke the pot? Who broke the blender? It was Vasanti. Vasanti. It was Vasanti. So whoever identifies the perpetrator, of course, that wasn't an irreligious act. It was just an accident. Or was it, Haridas? Same destination goes to you. What's an irreligious act? Stealing, it was him. Okay. Yeah.
How do we balance keeping a certain level of accountability and also like not criticizing? So for instance, if someone broke the blender and it's like our third blender that's been broken, we're like, hey, we're wasting Krishna's money. You know, like how do we stay accountable but not be in critical mood?
Well, if we say so much money, you can say so much money, so much of Krishna's money is being lost. And I know it's no one's intention or fault. So like, what can we do to help everybody to know better how to use the blender so it doesn't break? Is that all right? Okay, so this is interesting. Like, I just don't like that person. I don't want him around. So Prahlad Maharaj replied to the associates of Hiranyakashipu who were trying to deprogram him and get him to not be a devotee of their enemy. Who's their enemy? Vishnu. Okay. So Prahlad Maharaj replied, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose external energy, he's only five. Let me offer, so you can say it, Sumukhi. Let me offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose external energy has created the distinctions of friend and enemy by diluting the intelligence of men. Indeed, I am now actually experiencing this, although I have previously only heard it from the scriptures. That's about friend and enemy. And then, let's see what's next. This is from the 7th canto. I guess it's from Prahlad. It is. It's the next verse. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with the living entity because of his devotional service, that person becomes a pundit and does not make any distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Intelligently, he thinks, every one of us is an eternal servant of Krishna, and therefore we are not different from one another. These are so high. You know how we look at some living entities with disdain? Like yesterday evening, I think it was, there was a water cockroach in my bathroom. And we were thinking, yuck. So, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the humble sage, this is Bhagavad Gita, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. Can you, Divakar? occasionally. So then we're going back to Srimad Bhagavatam. This very good teachings of Lord Kapila Dev. I am present in every living entity as the supersoul. If someone neglects or disregards that supersoul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity of the temple, that is simply imitation. So we begin by being imitationists. That is, we don't see him everywhere in everyone's heart. He's only on my altar. This is called Kanista Adhikari at best. My dear mother, Kapila Dev is saying, even if he worships with proper rituals and paraphernalia, a person who is ignorant of my presence in all living beings never pleases me with the worship of my deities in the temple. As the blazing fire of death, I cause fear in the hearts.
Jai.